go. I am on the intro today. Welcome, everyone. We have Devesh. All right, now let's get comfortable. Today we've got Devesh Kumar joining us. He's a transformational artist. We're going to be hearing from him. And Devesh and I caught up last week. Feels like it wasn't just yesterday, but we caught up last week, and the energy was just flowing in the connection, and we just shared a lot of similarities about what we're looking to achieve in the world together. And I guess, Devesh, can you tell us a bit what is transformational? What is a transformational artist?
Well, firstly, two fancy words that sounded really cool. I didn't want to go with the whole coaching thing, but right now everything that I do is really helping people come back to the home, to their heart, of who they really are. And it's really the deepest form of work, which is transformative, which is very transformative. It transforms every single area of your life. And the other part is that everyone's an artist, but they don't know it. There are artists that don't know they are artists. Everything in life is in a perfectly symbiotic relationship with everything else. It's not a checklist. You don't live your life by a checklist. You have to tune into the rhythm inside you. Everybody's got their own unique rhythm. We are all artists, and we get to tune into that rhythm inside us in how we work, and how we live, and how we shop, and how we talk, and how we walk, and how we breathe, and how we connect with people. And our life's work is meant to be a living, breathing embodiment of the rhythm that's alive inside all of us. And when we combine that rhythm inside all of us, and we live in tune with the rhythm of life, then we come here and we do the work that we were born here to do. And when we do the work that we came here to do, we become life's work. And when you become life's work, life is there, sitting there, smiling, nodding its head, looking at you, and it supports you every step of the way. So the synchronicities get better. The right people come in. Everything that you do starts from the deepest place of connection. It's transformative, not just for yourself, but to every single person around you. And you live as the artist that you came here to be. And that's what a transformation artist is, creating other artists and helping them transform into the highest, best version of themselves every single day.
Wow, that's what a way to to start this off, because now you've talked about a few different things that I really love about that. It's about that everyone's an artist, and people forget that they have this creative side that just wants to be able to create and make things work or do something in a specific way, and people are being taken away from that loop of creating something. So what are some of the things have you found stopping people from creating?
Exactly what I just did. See, I just breathed and I paused and I tuned in. That's the basis of all creation. And the first point is connection. I think we live in a world where we have competence before connection. When I can do this, when I'm finally at this place, then I can feel connected with who I am. And now I can connect with others. But we've come to a point in time where it's not competence over connection. It's about connection over competence. And the first place that you must connect with is yourself in this moment, so that you're not speaking just through your mind, you're speaking through your body. And every single word that comes out, I don't know what the next word that's going to come out of my mouth is. All I know is that I've tuned into a rhythm. And if I say it as I'm speaking it, then you will feel it as you hear it. And connection isn't the end point. It is the start of all things. Every relationship, when you go to a coffee shop, when you start a business, if you're not connected to yourself, then guess what? Everything else is going to be forced. Whereas if you start with a place of connection, then everything that you do, every single person that you work with, every business deal, every relationship that you have, you can't help but over deliver because you were 100% of who you were. And that's how I started this call, from my intro to the point where we met, Andrew. This conversation, I want to set the stage of starting with real connection. And that's a starting point of all things. And I think that's what holds most people back, is because they're not connected to themselves. And we live in a world that takes you away from that. But the first place is always, if you have connection, then you're literally not in tune with life.
I'm loving this because connection is definitely that first part, And a lot of the things it's because of our own experiences and people's experiences and things that get them to a certain point of fear, of anxiety, that stops them from connecting deep inside, and that they're losing a lot of the things that make them who they truly are. And when you said that you're truly where you are now in the present, you're no longer thinking about all the things that have happened, nor have you even thought about all the things that are going to happen or haven't even been realized just yet. And I'm loving that part. I'm like when we talked earlier, I'm going to have to strap myself in for this one. And here's something I prepared earlier just to strap myself in. And I'm loving your voice, because your voice is just so soothing at the same time. Could you do some of my phone intros and just I need you to talk more. So here's the next question: is that once we get away from these anxieties, as well as and coming into the present and being able to create and have a full understanding and coming back to a center, how because a lot of people, there's so many people I've spoken to where they are lost in that point of being centered. Apart from breathing, what are some of the things that you've gone through, not only for yourselves but have helped others in moving to that center? Because there's so many things that happen, right? And that there's just so many things to that point, and there's so much information on what and where to start. Where you've now given us a starting point of just breathing. What are some other steps that help get people through to not only creating but connecting and being open? Because the part that I've had a good conversation about was love is a vibration where you have, if you come through an unconditional love point of view and not no longer judging or having all these things that stop you in your tracks in fearing what another person might have, or fearing a connection, or having an anxiety to even talk to people. What are some other things that we can delve into today that can help people now?
The first and most important thing is to let go of the idea that you're meant to live in love. The first place to accept is that you are where you are, and to be able to sit with it without running away from that feeling. We live in a society where people are constantly overworked, and the biggest thing that everybody is constantly aware of, if you look at movies, you look at music, you look at even films, everything's about hype and flash, because our attention spans are getting shorter, even to the point where we're training kids. We've created these social media platforms, where now the platforms are creating us. Kids before, they wanted to be engineers and pilots and doctors, but now they want to be TikTok stars, and your entire focus is on how do I be relevant in 7 seconds. And we see that in the way people live their lives. We see that in TVs and movies. What happened to the old school story building, and the smartest minds of our generation right now are stuck trying to figure out how to get somebody stuck to their Facebook screen, and how to organize algorithms so people get trapped in this cycle. So everything is based on, we're more connected than we've ever been, but we're more disconnected than we've ever been. So the first thing is to let go of this idea of perfection. When you walk past the supermarket and you see the perfect smile, that doesn't help you feel better about smiling. That makes you feel worse about your teeth, and it makes you feel like you have to be perfect before you can feel good about yourself. So the first thing we've got to let go of is that I should be feeling good all the time, that I should be living in love, and if I'm not, then there's something wrong with me. The first thing that we've got to accept is I feel the way I feel right now. What am I feeling? If something happened, I'm feeling a feeling in my chest, and I feel annoyed. And I feel annoyed because something didn't work out, and my mind is telling me that if something didn't work out, then I'm not good enough, and I can only feel good enough when things are working out, and that I'm not allowed to feel this way. But the first thing we've got to understand, it is what it is. Thank you, body, for speaking to me, telling me what's going on, and to be able to sit with that emotion. Because if you don't, There's a lot of people that have goals that they think are their top goals. There's a lot of people that want to be the number one in the industry in this and the top person in this. But the only reason they want those things is because they cannot sit with their emotions, because they feel like if they're not there, then they're inadequate. So it's not a place to get to, it's to be here now and to be able to sit with your body no matter what's going on, and to realize that if you're in a place of shame, then the highest place that you can get to is not love, because it's too far away. If you're living in shame, then guess what? Get angry. Get angry at the fact that you're holding yourself back and that you're used to sitting with this feeling and avoiding it, because anger is a higher vibration than shame, right? If you're if you can get from shame to anger, then that's a better place. If you can let that emotion be there and feel it, then guess what? You'll be angry for a while, but then there's so much power in anger, right? There's no power in shame or guilt. You can be angry, allow yourself to be angry instead of being like, yep, I'm going to positive think my way out of this. Let yourself feel that emotion and let it pass through. In the beginning, it might take you a whole day. Sit with the emotion, go for a walk, have a conversation, journal about it. Don't escape from that feeling. Let it build up. And slowly what will happen is you'll just be present with what is. And when you're present with what is, then you can choose where you want to go, what you want to do something about it. But the worst thing you can do is not let yourself feel, live for the weekend, drown yourself with drugs, alcohol, addictions, whether it's getting validation from somebody, whether it's constantly feeling the need to reaffirm something to yourself, spending time with people. First place is to just be here now. Bit of a long-winded answer, but that really is it. It's just to be here now, first and foremost.
I think it's so important as well with what's the environment that we're in to draw those feelings, because if we're in an environment that is just chasing the next phone or chasing the next item, that's all we know. So yeah, how can we put ourselves in, and it can take time as well, but putting ourselves in a particular environment where we can be open to these things and explore, and like, because sometimes you say these things, it's like, you just don't worry about it, just do this, but to a lot of people, they only know how to do that because of the environment and the upbringing. So I want to take it back. How did you get to where you are now? Like, what's your experience with what you're doing? How have you ended up here today?
Sure. Well, I was born in India, lived there till at the age of 10, and it's a little bit different now, but back then, if you think about it, you are either top of the class in your academic, or you are a nobody, and you just end up poor or like a middle class person, right? So in India, you're not really, like, I always realized I'm actually a born artist, not painting and drawing, and like, I am very good at those things, but I never nurtured those parts of myself, and I only defined myself based on the academics and that's what school takes you through. And the first 10 years of my life, I literally, in school, you get beaten like a lot, and so I literally had the artistry beaten out of me. I remember like trying to draw in my notepad, and the teacher sees it, and they're pulling you in front of the class, and they're like, slap the shit out of you in front of everybody. You make faces at the kid next to you, and you're like beaten for it. Now, I don't think much about those things. I'm like, oh, that's just part of the culture. But what that does is it suppressed who I was, and it allowed me to kind of become really timid. And then when I came to Australia when I was 10 years old, that's exactly what got me bullied, right? That's exactly what made me feel. So I thought, hang on a second, I can't fit in with my own people. I can't fit in with people outside. So I literally believed that I was a second-class citizen that was not worthy of the same opportunities that everybody had. And I always had to hide parts of myself to get through life. And I was never really truly allowed to suppress myself. And I carried that into my 20s, up until the age of 29, I had this huge, I had my massive breakthrough, and I realized, I told myself for the first time that I love myself, and I really believed it. And I really saw, looking back, and then year after that, 8 years ago, I quit my job, and I've been doing what I've been doing now full time for 8 years. And what I realized was my gift was my curse. Is that I'd sat with these emotions of not feeling good enough and unworthy and shame and guilt, and constantly just accepting that that's who I am. I deserve to feel those things. And I realized being able to sit with that was my superpower, because I had to sit with it and I had to learn to become my own best support. I had to learn how to feel the feelings inside and sit with them. I had to learn how to have compassion for other people and really see what was going on for them. I was always the guy that people come to when they need a hand. I'm always the guy that people come to when they needed advice about something. And I naturally drew them in because I had the capacity to really understand what was going on. What I realized is that we define ourselves so much just to escape this feeling of being. But when we tune into that, when we let what life is trying to express through you, you can then feel it and you can use that thing inside you to create what you're here to create. But if you don't feel fully, it's like being an artist that's trying to paint without the paint. You know, those feelings, the emotions, they're not good or bad. They're the fucking paint. That's creation flowing through you, the essence of life presenting itself through you for you to be, for you to feel fully and to help others feel fully. And there's a lot of people I've worked with. I've worked with, artists, musicians, actors. I've worked with, people that make like $10 million a year. I've worked with an Olympic athlete and but the difference with all of them is that they know how to create the identity on the outside, but they didn't really feel deeply in tune with who they were inside. And when they tuned into that, everything that they created was so much stronger. The people that you draw in are so much more in resonance. Your presence, and when you show up, you become so magnetic. Now, but I'm talking about the other people, but coming back to myself, my whole life, the first 70% of my life, was literally me hiding parts of myself and not being allowed to be who I am. And I realized when you do that, you're walking around as a shell of yourself. And people live without having ever truly lived. And holding on to that, feeling the pain of accepting the shame and the guilt that I was less than, I just realized that the world is living like that. And if I've broken through it, I know what the real pain of that feels like. And I'll never let a day go by where I can do something about it. And I don't. I want to be a living, breathing example of what's possible, of being a full expression of who you are. Even if I don't do it by validating myself on social media, I'm going to do it in every interaction, in every conversation, just being out there. I'm going to let my presence speak loudly without saying a fucking word. Sorry if I'm swearing. And I'm not going to be any less than the full expression that I came here to be.
Just let it flow. That's the conversation we're having today. Just connect, see what happens, and let it flow. And the best versions of ourselves will come out.
Well, that definitely is. Just I'm still taking that in as we're coming to this point where you mentioned earlier on with that 7 seconds with TikTok and how it's changed the environment into having to grab people's attentions when we're actually being so distracted by so many different things and everything's trying to grab our attention to that certain point that it's even trying to grab all of the energy and anything that we have left. And it is very important to retract yourself from that world so you can regain a lot of that energy to get a full understanding of who you truly are. And driving force is based on how you can create and be who you can be, because a lot of people are lost in that sense. So when they are lost and they suddenly find themselves, there are so many different things that we we get bombarded with, as well as there's this thing called hermit mode, where people suddenly succumb to themselves because there's just so much information on what to do and what not to do, and there's a lot of things trying to distract us to try and grab our attention. So we are not only lost in a world where we are getting distracted. The experiences that we've had is something that's been suppressing a lot of the things that who we truly are, and we're trying to express who we are, and also trying to grab or have and accept a lot of the emotions that we are currently having. There's so many things happening all at one stage. It's become so difficult to 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 just be by yourself and to try and express that and get that out. So we need more people who are going to be leaders in being able to find a way to harness a lot of this information and have a lot more people like yourself to help them transform and get themselves out into the world. So you've explained a lot of the people that you've helped in the past, and you've got this experience with many different people, but they all have specific things that in general that's stopping them to become who they are. Are there three different things that you can name now that can help identify any of these?
I think the best thing we can do is actually get ourselves outside of the identity and really listen not to the mind, but what the body is calling you to create. So I know you want 3 steps, but I'm going to just, I think the best thing I can do in this is actually create awareness. And if you come back to a state of awareness, then you will be in tune with what's being called to you. And you won't even need to make the plan. You won't need, the vision board or the specific goals. You'll have that thing inside you and you'll know what the next thing is that you're meant to work on. That's what I firmly believe. And there's a couple of things I want to mention. So the first thing I just want to say is I actually sent a message to somebody this morning around this, and I just want to kind of read it to you because we were having a conversation. There's incredible coaches out there, but then they feel they're constantly behind. And this is a message that I sent to them, and I think this is something that's relevant to everybody. Somebody told me once, you can't be the sage from the stage. You just got to be the guide from the side, right? So you got to let you've just got to, let me just read this to you, okay? If you're somebody here with a calling, if you're here somebody that's here to add to people, and you know it inside you, right? There's no ifs or buts. There's a lot of people that are just doing this because they want to replace their income and they just want to, use coaching as a methodology and there's nothing wrong with that. That's okay. They're not the people I work with and I fully relate to, right? If you're somebody here who's got a message and you know that you're here to be the messenger for the message and there's something inside you, when the mind is clear, the door to the heart is open. And when the door to the heart is open, the soul can communicate through the heart and it can be received by the mind, and then you can transmute in real time the unseen into the seen to eternity through expression. And right now, if you tune into that, if your mind is clear, your heart is open, and the soul can speak through, then what you're in tune with is what consciousness is asking you to create. If you are being, for example, if you want to write a book, if you want to create a program, guess what? If you sit down to have a perfect map about the book that you're meant to write, but the stuff that comes through when you sit down to write, it doesn't make sense to your intellect. But guess what? That's what your consciousness is now trying to create through you. And when you start creating that, when you start writing that book, when you start creating that course, when you start that business, the person who starts that process and the person who finishes that process is no longer the same person, because you've actually, just like words by themselves have no meaning. It's when you sing them and they're strung together in an eternal song that helps you bop to the beat of the magic of existence. And as you're listening to it, you can feel the fucking electricity coursing through every single part of your veins. That's what happens when you're in the process of creation, when you don't create from the intellect and you let consciousness dictate what it wants to create through you, and you be in tune with that. You write the book that's asking to be written. You start the movement that's been asking to be created. And when you do that, guess what? Now you send shockwaves into all of eternity and you reach the people that are in resonance. Even if you've never met them, they'll come into your experience. You can be at a coffee shop, someone can see you and you can start a conversation. You don't know where that will come from. It will come and find you because you're a powerful fucking magnetic force in line with the harmony of life itself. Sorry, I'm swearing a lot, but I'm not going to stop. So what you do is you literally create based on what consciousness is asking you to create. And if you create that, then the people will come. The right people will come. The right opportunities will come. And guess what? When they come in, the person who enters and starts reading that book or joins that program, when they start and when they finish, they're no longer the same person because their consciousness is elevated. Now, let's take a step back. Let's look at the other version of this. I'm meant to sit down and write a book. But you know what? I'm going to write a book on business that's meant to be about blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I'm getting all this stuff, but I'm not going to write about that. I want to be an Amazon number 10 bestseller and write about the topic that's really logical. When you create from that place, everything is harder. Everything is dense. You're working with people. You're wasting your time. You're using your intellect and you're stopping what life actually chose you to be an embodiment of. You're getting in the way. Everything becomes harder and you live through life forcing stuff through. And if you're somebody in this space that's helping people elevate, I have a message for you. This is the message I sent to my client this morning. Isn't it funny that the people who are meant to make people feel enough don't feel it themselves and then project it onto others? Just like the coaching industry. Be a 6-figure, 7-figure, 8-figure coach. Here's a $40,000 launch formula. What happened to leading with what matters? Isn't it our job to show people that they are enough and then to expand what they could do, what they get to create as a feeling of that enoughness? Isn't it our job to be enough and come from there and be an invitation to be okay in your flawed awesomeness, in your flawsomeness, in a world that makes you feel small? I'm starting from here. Always enough, always awesome. My presence and invitation. You are already the best version of who you are right now. Accept that. And each day, choose how you get to expand, knowing that the world is full of possibilities.
Whew. Wow.
There's so much there. We can keep going, and I'm just being mindful of the time.
Okay.
But I just wanted to say thanks, Devesh, for coming on today and sharing all that. It's been amazing and thought-provoking. If anyone out there is listening and wants to get in touch with you, what's the best way?
Just send me a message on Facebook. I've just been working with like 7 or 8 people a year. Most people I just, I'm not very active on social media. I do like collaborations. I've been running workshops with, in collaboration with other people. Everything for me is about real connection. If you feel called, then listen to that resonance. There's a reason why you feel the connection. And just message me. I'm just going to have a conversation, and whatever happens from there happens from there. Like, I've been doing that for 4 or 5 years. I've not marketed, advertised, and I don't have to work for anybody else. I've just opportunities come and find me. So just send me a message and let's just connect.
Awesome. All right. Well, I think I know, Sandra, you got anything else to add?
No, brilliant. I can add more things to the conversation, of course, but we'll have to have like a 2-hour session instead of being able to allow everyone to divulge a lot of the information that's being said today, because it's really thought provoking, like Andrew mentioned, that it's something that we are missing today in society, and I hope that a lot of people will be listening to this and keep this on repeat, because there's a lot of information in that we need to be looking at, as well as to keep ourselves balanced and centered is one of the most important things that we need to be at in order to not only create, it's to become who we truly are. So thank you, Devesh. It's been awesome to have you on here, and it will be great to meet you in person once we get a chance. So thanks again. Thanks for being on here, and thanks to anyone and everyone that's been on the live.
Thanks to Joe. I mean, Joe's just got a message there. Imagine the suppression of all those who are homeless. Yeah,
absolutely. And Joe, you know what? Here's the thing. I know we've got to go, but this is the difference between empathy and compassion. Empathy is joining what someone else is feeling and kind of going down there with them. And compassion is having the wisdom to just send them love, but to know that this part of their soul that's experiencing what they're experiencing, there's another part of their soul that's absolutely in bliss, and they're on their journey. They chose what to do before they came into this lifetime, and contrast is the nature of existence, and everything is in perfect balance. So just send them compassion, send them love, and just know that there's so much growth in their soul that's going on, despite what's happening in the physical illusion.
Whew. That's it. That's the message right there. All right. Well, thanks, everyone. Thanks, Devesh, again for coming on, and we'll see everyone next week. So until then,
next week. See you all.
See you later.
Bye.